Orale! What's up, homies? It is Turnstile Thursday. And as you know, we're going to talk Tenet. We actually talk about hot sauces. And listen to the show. And we're live. We're live again. This one, I'll actually introduce this one. You know, it's Turnstile Thursdays. This is where we hop into the turnstile and we talk about some shit from the past, right? Today's topic is going to be Tenet. Again, yes, folks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you motherfuckers shouldn't be surprised anymore.
Yeah. So if you didn't like Tenet, you know, keep listening.
And if you like it, keep listening.
And if you liked it, well, definitely keep listening.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe says he was about to post a video.
Yeah. There was a video because, like, people say that basically there's a video out that says that the movie is a masterpiece,
right?
And it actually addresses the complaints that some people have based on, like, the critical analysis is not a lot of emotional character building within the main characters in the movie.
Right.
I think I read that.
To make you attached to them, you know? And I'm like, I totally agree, but I still like this fucking movie. And that's his thing. Is like, even with that missing or not, well, he says it's actually there. You're just overlooking it. And he gives us proof on where it sits. But I'm like, the movie is slightly off. And I agree with him. I mean, I agree with most people. Like, if you don't like the movie, I understand why you don't like it or why you don't get it.
Yeah.
But overall, the shit is a fun fucking movie. And it's like you need to watch it twice, at a minimum, just to absorb everything.
Twice?
I
at least. I'm saying twice.
I agree with Hey Jones.
You got to watch it forwards, and you got to watch it backwards.
Yeah, I agree with Hey Jones that it is a little bit off, and I think I read that same review where the reviewer said that there really isn't any character development except for Catherine, the mom. Yeah. Like she was really the only one that had any sort of any sort of backstory or any sort of character development, outside or in the microcosm of the movie.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I gotta say the protagonist had some character development in that he was, a convert by the end of the movie because he was a skeptic at first. That's character development.
Right. Well, I mean,
but he's
most definitely a dynamic. Yeah, he's a dynamic character to be sure, But compared to like any sort of character development that he might have had, it's like you don't realize it until like afterwards. You know what I mean? But with Kat though, like it like right from the get go, like you can see where she's coming from. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, let's not forget that Christopher Nolan is British, and that amount of character development is pretty dramatic.
One of my favorite lines out of that movie is when he first meets with Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And when Michael Caine says, for someone who claims to be a billionaire, Brooks Brothers isn't going to cut it.
Right.
And he looks at his suit. The protagonist looks at his own suit, and Michael Caine, or he says like, well, I assume I'm going to be compensated, or basically like, well, farm me the money, motherfucker. Pay for it, right?
Yeah.
And so he gives him like a card. And as he's giving the protagonist the card, the protagonist says, or no, he says, Michael Caine says, "Can I recommend a tailor?" And the protagonist says, "No, like don't worry about it. Like you British don't have a monopoly on snobbery." And then Michael Caine says, "I'm more of a controlling interest." I thought that was one of the best lines in the movie. I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
When I first heard that, the first time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep watching.
My favorite
you know what
line,
I mean?
My favorite line was when the Russian asked the protagonist, like, "Are you sleeping with my wife?" And the protagonist is like, "Not yet."
Not yet. Yep. I would have said the same thing. So I want to say the same thing. Like, give me time. I haven't, I haven't yet. But give me time.
Now the one line that people like, I don't, or I think it needs to be changed, which is, I ordered my hot sauce an hour ago. And it
Yeah.
should have been, I ordered my hot wings an hour ago.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody orders hot sauce. You just tell them to
That
bring it.
was clever though. That was like, that was a funny line.
Well, he came up with it on the fly and they kept it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hot wings, that would have been racist.
No, the hot sauce is racist because this is about like Beyonce carrying hot sauce in her purse and then fucking Hillary Clinton going on the Breakfast Club and they asked her about what's in her purse and she pulls out a bottle of hot sauce. Like it's I'm assuming that it's a reference to that level of pandering.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna have to carry around hot sauce now, but I live in LA, so I'm always gonna get Tapatio or Cholula, man. I'm in LA, so I don't have to carry around hot sauce. But I promise you, man. Like if I have to go out of town, hell yeah, I'm gonna be taking my Tapatio.
I got a gallon of Caribbean habanero hot sauce.
Damn. Hey, Jones ain't fucking around.
Dude, Caribbean don't fuck around when it comes to hot sauce, bro.
Right?
I know. If you're into hot sauce, try some Marie Sharp if you can find it.
Yeah,
do they have a website?
I'm sure if you Google Marie Sharp, it's a Belizean company, family-owned brand. I think Heinz tried to buy them, and it was like, nah, we good.
Oh, Marie Sharps. Hell yeah, you can buy that shit on Amazon for $16.99.
Well, is that superior?
Shit, man, you could get original hot peppers by the gallon for $48.
Hey, Marie Sharp, we're looking for sponsors.
Yeah, Marie Sharp. Yeah, Tapatio, Cholula. We don't want none of that Frank's Hot or Texas Pete's. That shit. I was about to say that shit's gay. It's not gay.
they do have one. I think it's in a black bottle, or it has like a black label. That's basically like hot wing sauce, but actually hot.
Yeah.
It's my least favorite. Out of a bunch, I'm not really a big hot sauce fan.
Yeah.
Too much of a vinegar base for me personally.
Yeah, but, vinegar sauces are bitch sauces. They're not even really sauces.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the label closely, you will see that it says it's a pepper sauce.
Huh.
You see what I'm saying? There's a vast difference. And I watched them make it, and it's mostly peppers and veggies, and a little bit of. I think there's some vinegar in it, but it's more like a preservative.
You know what? You know what they should call it? Instead of calling it hot sauce, they should call it chili pepper cider.
Well, you know what? If I make some fermented hot sauce, which is in my plans, it's on my bucket list. I will call it, because it's fermented. I will call it chili pepper cider.
Nice. All right. Okay.
Speaking of fermentation, I also as it relates to what you just said, I want to brew my own mead, that honey wine.
Nigga, it takes too long.
So
honestly,
I know.
I've watched videos of this shit. That process, I'm like, I don't got time for this shit. I don't got time for it.
It takes months. It takes for you to have a good batch of meat. It takes a long time. Not only that, I haven't found a good was it topiary or apiary? I forget the name. I forget the word. Basically, someone that can provide me with non-pasteurized honey in bulk.
Right.
So that shit's hard to find. But in any case,
you need raw honey, right?
Yes. It can't be pasteurized. So
Amazon gonna have everything you need for it. The brew kit.
You know what?
Raw honey, everything.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. I keep on forgetting that fucking Dr. Evil has Amazon. and I forget that. Oh shit, I could buy this shit from there. You know what I mean?
I checked my account. I made like 100 and something purchases from Amazon this year.
Oh man.
Yeah. I think I might have too, actually.
Yeah, so, that's why it calls it Amazon, because Amazon had everything.
Yeah, fucking A to Z. Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
Yeah, so the hot sauce line, I wish it would have been like hot wings or something, because the hot sauce is just random.
Well, hot sauce is less of a bureaucratic process than Jesus juice, so
I guess that would have been cool. That would have been cool. Like, I ordered my Jesus juice an hour ago.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
We were even coming up with names for the variations, like Revelations, the Second Coming.
Yeah,
right.
Honestly, all the other flavors didn't taste as good as the first one with the
original.
Not the OOG, but let's say the post college OG.
Right.
That one's good. The one with the next one after that, which had the Chipotle in it, is the best. Honestly, like bar none, it's the best shit.
I think what sets the Chipotle flavor apart from most other spices is that smokiness that it's got.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That shit is good, man.
Indeed.
But yeah. So anyway,
actually, a bar that I used to hit, one lady would actually take like she wanted a spicy margarita, so they would actually take the jalapeno peppers that are sitting in like I don't even think it's a brine. I think it's just vinegar juice, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She would take a couple of those and muddle them and put that in her margarita, or have her margarita made with those. And I was like, that's disgusting. So I bought a tin of Chipotle powder, and I gave it to the bartender who I'm really cool with. This is at Iron City, and I gave that to her. And I was like, the next time she asks for a spicy margarita, use some of this. The next time I came in, she's like, yeah, we used it all.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
She said the customer who usually gets it loved it, and that became her thing.
Who knew that Hey Jones was such a gastronomic genius?
I did.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
In fact, when we get this Chino and Homeboy money, I'm gonna open up a comedy club, and I'm gonna have Hate Jones make the drinks.
All right.
The drink
mixologist,
gastronomy. That's right.
Yeah, mixologist, gastronomy expert. There you go.
That's right.
I'm there. Now, right, so let's dig in. So
enough of the foreplay.
Enough of the foreplay.
Just get in the fucking turnstile already.
Okay, so at the end of the movie, Neil says, "You have a future in the past. Years ago for me, years from now for you."
Right.
What does that statement mean?
I think the clue to the answers to that statement or that question is when Neil says, or when the protagonist asks Neil, like, so who recruited you? And Neil says, haven't you figured it out by now? It's you. Like, you're the one who recruited me. You know, so I think at some point in the future.
How would he figure out that when he didn't figure out nothing else in the movie?
Right. Well, I mean, so let's not get bogged down with the details of what actually that whole thing that he said. But I think that like I said, the answer to that question is like at some point in the future, he recruits Neil. I think that is the answer to that question.
Okay, let's go, because I've been thinking about this for a while. I actually wrote this shit down a week ago. Okay.
Damn.
Because I went through and I started taking
likes
notes
TENET.
on all the things that were said that I found questionable or needed to be dissected. So you have a future in the past. I tend to believe that the protagonist eventually travels back in time. So at some point, he gets in a turnstile and spends a long time going backwards. Maybe even he gets put in a coma, or artificial coma, and gets on the ship and stays on that ship for years or some shit like that. Maybe, some kind of stasis to run back in time. Maybe a few years, because he says you have a future in the past, meaning that in his future, he's gonna do something in the past, right?
Now
Which
I
means,
assume,
which would be before this movie started.
Now, so is he traveling through time in like a traditional time machine,
No.
or
I'm saying he goes
is he
inverted.
hopping on a turnstile?
I'm saying he goes inverted for a long period of time, and then he gets out because let's say
Okay.
this whole movie, this whole scenario starts back when like Sater is like in his 20s, which would have been like in the 80s, right?
Right.
So that's where Tenet would need to start to combat Sater.
So if that's true, like let's assume that that's true, right? Then the whole idea of Neil being Max, has increased
Or let me say
possibility and
this. Let,
probability.
let me say this. When the Cold War ends, the new Cold War starts, and it's a Cold War with time or with the future.
So, like I said, if we were to assume that that's true, that the protagonist goes back in time or hops in a turnstile and stays inverted for a number of years, then the idea that I, first kind of championed and then, kind of let go, um, the idea that Max is Neil or Neil is Max or whatever, um, now has increased probability because if that were true, if Max is Neil, then like you had said in the previous episode, then he would have to hop onto the turnstile for an extended period of time. Um, he would need a bunch of oxygen because if you're in reverse entropy, then the air doesn't work, so you would have to have your own oxygen tank. So but that being said, yes, sure, it might be probable.
Well, here's my other thing. So you have a future in the past years ago for me, which means it's actually in Neil's past, right?
Which is the future, yeah.
No. Let's say Neil is actively a straight moving person, right? Because
Okay.
all these other Tenet folks, right, aren't people from the future. The Tenet force is current people, right? People
Right.
of the time in which they're in. Um, and so like just like with Sater, right? Sater has a crew. So I'm thinking maybe the future and the past means like because they can communicate across the time barrier, right?
Right.
Because Sater was forward, listening backwards, XYZ, sending
Mm-hmm.
text messages back and forth. So what if in the future the protagonist starts Tenet sometime
Right.
after the movie,
Right.
and he does it by sending messages back to the past and ends up to the right people in the past to start Tenet the same way that the bad guy started Sater organization.
Hold on. So what happened to? I don't know. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Because
Track what I'm saying. Their relationship together isn't, maybe it's not physical. Maybe it's a communication relation, right?
mm-hmm.
So, like I'm saying, the future force put Sator into action, right? By sending him messages from the future, right? Using dead drops. So what if that same technique was used by the protagonist to start Tenet in the past, which is his future, right? And Neil was the contact person.
One thing that fucks me up with that idea, and one thing that doesn't really mesh or that doesn't resonate, is when he says you have you have your future in the past. What was it? Years from now.
For me,
the past for me, the future for you.
Yeah, so it's years ago for me, which means it's in Neil's past, and years from now for you, which means in Homeboy's future. So what I'm saying is he now know who Neil is. When he goes in the future, he ends up communicating with him across the time barrier and makes him an agent in some capacity. And so Neil is currently moving forward to run into the
protagonist.
The protagonist in the future or during the movie.
Here's a question. What if the protagonist recruits Max in the future to go into the past because he knows he's gonna die, so he can close the loop?
I thought about that. I still can't get over
even at the end of the movie, he doesn't know that the kid is Max.
I thought about that too, but I still can't get over the fact that, number one, the numbers don't add up, like you had said, and number two, if Neil was Max, then I don't know about you guys. Like, I understand that my relationship with my own parents is, basically non-existent.
Yeah, because
Neil, that notwithstanding, if my mother gets shot, right, I would express more concern. It's almost like Neil just brushed off Kat, like he was ready for her to die.
Because that was something that was he wouldn't have known. Like his mother wouldn't tell him her situation that she'd been in the future, so he wouldn't know what would happen. Right. So if his mother gets shot, he's like, "Oh shit, we have to save her." He would be right in tow with it, which he was just kind of cold. Like he always knew more shit in the movie about everything, but he didn't have any concern for her.
That makes no psychological sense.
What do you mean?
Like he knows what his mom looks like, and if he saw her get shot, he would react with more emotion, not knowing.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm saying, what I'm saying, it couldn't be a bluff, right? Because you're like, oh, I need to act cold and all
right, look, I'm gonna admit I didn't do my homework. I didn't watch Tenet again. I'm sorry.
I did my damn homework.
That's the reason why my ass is staying quiet. I'm sitting in the back of the class, hoping the teacher don't call on me.
Well, okay. So, but do this because you're a wordsmith.
Yeah.
When you hear you have a future in the past, years ago for me, years from now for you, what does that bring into your mind? How do you break it?
All right, so it does imply that Neil is Max, right? I mean, if he does recruit him because it's a CIA operation, they would force the guy to like change his name and identity so that the protagonist doesn't know that he's Max, right? Because the CIA was going to do some shit like that, right? So it does imply that, maybe it's Max, maybe it's not, but it's not directly stated.
Okay, right. And the director also
what did the protagonist say?
That Neil,
what did the protagonist say? Like,
is not necessarily that character's name because they're all agents.
Right.
Right. And what I was going to say was there's a line there that the protagonist says, lying is standard operating procedure.
Right, because it's the CIA. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
plausible deniability, though. It's all plausible deniability.
Right.
And then so here's the other thing. Tenet was started in the future.
Uh-huh.
So that's the other point. Like, Tenet was started in the future, and you're halfway there.
Yep.
So
he did say that.
And I'll see you at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, like with all of this, this is the true puzzle to solve. Because and then also Priya told him that there is more than one protagonist. Like, he says, "Hey, I'm the protagonist here." He's like, "No, you're a protagonist." And in the movie, there happen to be 3 protagonists in the movie.
Right.
Kate,
doesn't he?
Kate, the protagonist, and Neil. Yeah.
Doesn't he also say, like, before he shoots him, or before he shoots her, all this time I've been thinking that we're working for somebody else, but we're actually working for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right before.
So at that point, he realizes that. Well, once Neil tells him this, he realizes that he's the one who started Tenet.
Right. Uh-huh. So with that, like I said, I took what Neil said in the end to mean that you found me in the future, and I'm here now, kind of thing. Like, I traveled back into whatever. I took that as, at some point in the future they had met, and Neil goes back in time and helps him out.
And then
They're going like, well, they go on, they go. Actually, there's that line there where he says, like, we what does he say? Like, we had a lot of adventures together or some shit.
Right.
And this is the end of a beautiful. I see this as end of a beautiful friendship.
But what if it was a distance relationship where I've sent you on a shit ton of missions and we communicate?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna deny that, what you're saying is compelling, because it is. Because I didn't think about that, and now I am. So maybe, because if that's what Sator was doing, he's just basically getting he gets activated remotely. He gets his orders essentially remotely, right?
Yeah.
If that's happening to Sator, then that could very well be what's happening with Neil. And at this point, this is, it's all a probability cloud, which I think is the whole the overarching theme, for this movie, this whole entropy and chaos and probability. That's what I think that's the beauty of this movie, is that it's chaotic. Yes, it's very chaotic.
And I do believe this movie has space to be a part 2.
No, don't do that.
Well, follow me, right?
No, I'm not.
Just follow me. Follow me.
No, I'll watch you, but I ain't following.
All right, whatever. Just listen. Everything in this movie is about a temporal pincer movement, right?
Right.
And so technically there should be another movie that shows the other end, because, like he says, you're only halfway there.
Right.
See you at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
you want to know why I don't want a second movie?
Why?
Because if they do a second movie, the beauty. Well, no, I would probably watch it. But the beauty of the discussion that we are having right now would be, destroyed.
It would be destroyed and then replaced with more questions.
No, that's the thing, though, because then you start getting incongruities in the logic, because they'll be forced to try and explain what happened in the first movie, and a lot of the mystique that is surrounding the movie and our conversation in and of itself would be completely annihilated, and that's why I don't think there should be a second Tenet.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way.
You want a second movie because you want answers. I'm saying you shouldn't have the answers. You know, it's like I'm Jeff Goldblum, all right? I am the Mexican Jeff Goldblum here, telling you you're so busy thinking whether or not you could that you didn't stop to think if you should. Okay.
Well, okay. So let me stipulate. If he has already written a part 2 as he written for part 1, like if it was a planned thing,
yeah,
then he should make it. I don't think he should just go off and be like, "Oh, let me do a part 2. Let me start writing a new script to connect the movies." But I'm like, if he already had it in the bag and he wrote it that way, definitely, because then that would be the full pincer, right? So we see the beginning of Tenet, and we also see the succession of Tenet, where it actually achieves this accomplishment, right?
Like, okay, so outside of the Batman movies, has Nolan actually made a sequel to any of his films?
No.
Yeah, so I think that's what's brilliant about Nolan is that, like with Inception, for example,
right.
He does explicitly say that, like at the end with a spinning top, with a spinning token or whatever, like he doesn't explicitly tell you that whether Leo was dreaming or not. Whether
don't get me started on this movie.
No, that's a whole nother show.
We're saving that for a different show. But what I'm saying is, I look, I want answers too, right? But that word that you said, homeboy, mystique. There is a certain mystique to this movie, and that mystique is shattered, just like this conversation would be, or the ideas of this conversation. This and the conversation itself would be destroyed if we, if he went non-Nolan and made a sequel.
Yeah.
But I do want some answers as well. And that's what's cool about this movie is that, like we were talking about Maxwell's Demon, in a previous episode, and we, I think it was you, homeboy, that said we are Maxwell's Demon as the watchers, because this movie is not going to make sense if you don't put the work in. Just like, Maxwell's Demon is a visualization of a violation of the second law of thermodynamics because it'll stabilize without putting in any work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like this whole film, right? This microcosm of a film is in and of itself a closed system.
Yes.
This whole movie is a visualization of Maxwell's Demon. I think.
Yes.
Because this shit ain't gonna fucking make sense unless you put some fucking work in.
Yep.
So going back to what you said earlier about this reviewer who said, it's chaotic. Yes, it's supposed to be. It's a fucking movie about entropy. Entropy is chaos.
Yes.
Entropy
is essentially chaos. Yes.
And so it's like, for the people who didn't like the movie, they say it's pretentious. What? What'd you say?
Fuck them.
Right. They say it's a pretentious movie. Like there's not enough character development. It's like I get all that. I agree. It's fucking chaotic.
To those critics that said all of that shit who did not like Tenet. Listen, it's not Marvel. Okay.
Right.
All right. Get some taste, you motherfuckers. Watch some Fellini. Okay.
Right.
Watch some John fucking Ford, you assholes.
Get some culture and science in your life.
Right. Exactly.
But you know what? There are people who say it's a pretentious movie. I don't think so. I don't think that it is. Yeah. I took it for what it was worth. I did enjoy it. Right. I enjoyed watching this movie, and I mean, part of my enjoyment came from like just completely nerding out on, like when I heard entropy and Feynman, and I'm like, oh shit, this is a movie I can get into because I fucking nerd out on shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and I wish more people would.
Right. But yeah, it's it was enjoyable. Just like Kate Jones, I do want answers as well. And my wife was watching it, and she said she saw it twice. She said that she understood about half of what was going on, and then she felt like she had to watch it again, so she did. One of the things she asked was, um, whenever the protagonist goes through the turnstile the first time, whenever he gets inverted the first time, and he gets in the car, right? Uh, it's almost like he's done it before. Like like he just suddenly, um, goes through the motions and is successful. You know, what do you guys think about that? Like, do you think that there was, uh, you know, uh, should he struggle more with with how he was inverted, or like his actions when he was inverted? Um, like, it just seemed like he did the thing. You know, what do you think, Hey Jones?
Mm. Repeat the question.
So, the question is, or it was said to me that the protagonist, whenever he'd hop into the turnstile for the first time, it seemed like he was able to adapt really really quickly, and
Oh,
just go through go through the motions and do what he wanted to do, right?
so you're talking about after the road heist
Yeah, like when
or
after
during the
Cat
road
gets shot,
heist?
after 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 Cat gets shot, during because you had the initial road heist, and then he goes into the turnstile, gets to the Audi, and
Yeah, they did give him a very short acclimation stage.
well, okay, so to that I say, and this is the same thing I told her, to that I say, number one, he's a fucking trained CIA operative. He's a
Yeah.
seasoned CIA vet.
Oh, and if you notice, he was
And number
driving
two,
on the wrong side of the road to keep himself forward and oriented.
right. Well, and here's the other thing too. In the beginning of the movie, when he talks to that scientist and he fires those shots, right? And like he checks the gun and he says it's empty, and then the scientist says just go ahead and point and shoot, and the bullet comes back to the gun,
Mm.
right? And then she explains the whole thing about like in your perspective you're catching the bullet, uh, but but that whole scene in the beginning, right? Where there's a scene there where she like fucks around with the bullet, like flips it, drops it, flips it, and then it like suddenly like goes goes into his hand, and he catches it, right? He says it's instinct. He just kind of he just kind of knew where it was going to go.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the reasons
That's the
why
other
he's
part.
able
Yeah,
to.
it's like it's all instinctual. So just like okay,
Right. And so I think that's the reason, that's how he's able to, acclimate fairly quickly. Like, number one, he really has no fucking choice, because he's got this thing that he needs to do. He's a seasoned CIA operative. And the fact that he understands, like, oh shit, this is, from the beginning of the movie, this shit is instinctual. So I
mm.
think that's the reason why he's able to acclimate fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Nah, I agree with you. It's they did show him like struggling. Like getting to the car, start driving the car. The car doesn't drive straight.
Yeah.
For a long time, he's weaving in and out of traffic, driving backwards.
Right.
Before it seems like he got the hang of it. So
And he's also looking at his phone or whatever
yeah,
the device was.
and that whole scene didn't feel fluid. It
Right.
all felt like a struggle. So I feel like that whole part was like his acclimation stage.
Uh-huh. Now, there's this other idea that I saw somewhere, that Sator was always meant to fail,
Mm.
because
Well,
you know
here's a hole that I found in the movie.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, big hole. So
I didn't put my dick in it.
Stay away.
So all they needed to do. So Priya ends up saying like, hey, her goal was for Homie to lose it. Like he was set up to lose the fucking device because they wanted Satyr to gather all 9 so that they can steal all 9 from him, right? But I'm like, the fucking devices are useless without all 9. So all you need to do is steal that last piece, which you had in your hands, and you had a big security force that could have came in and countered Satyr's attack. So they could have been shadowing that heist the whole fucking time, and then just had a helicopter fly in and fly them the fuck off, right?
Right. I think I'm following. Yeah.
And then they take that device, they invert it, drop it in the ocean, and it just streams back in time to where nobody can get it. Right? And then they go kill Satyr. Right? So at any point in time, they could have killed Satyr because his fucking watch bomb wouldn't work unless he has all 9 parts. Because his death is actually like a signal to the future that the device is in the hole.
Well, if that happened, then we wouldn't have a movie.
Yeah, well, but I'm saying that's like for something that's been so intricate, you know what I'm saying, and put apart. I was like, wait a minute, if you just snag the one part and then kill Satyr, you're good. You don't need to find the other 9. I mean, or other 8. You have them. You need all 8. You need all 9 pieces. If you ain't got one of them, you're good.
Well,
I think can't use it.
I think with they already had like the previous 8 pieces. They were just waiting for that last one, you know. So it's like, well, shit. He already has all 8. He has the rest of the 8. Why don't you steal the whole thing? You know, I mean, that would have been my fucking mentality. But the reason I say Satyr was always destined to fail is that, like you said, his death it's like a, you know, it releases the algorithm, or it activates the algorithm, you know. But at the end, or close to the end, when he's holding that quote unquote cyanide pill, it's a fake one. It's the same one that the protagonist, you know, took in the beginning to quote unquote
which would just put him in a coma.
And yes, really... so he wouldn't have died anyway. You know, so like at some point, like he's, you know, he was gonna fail anyway. You know what I mean? So I mean, like he wouldn't have died. He wouldn't.
And I think the other part of the movie, which I didn't get until that last time, because the last time we talked about, I ended up watching the movie like right afterwards. And then one more time since then, is that Satyr's an idiot.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the motherfucker was dumb enough to go dig up shit in a fucking radioactive wasteland. Of course, he's an idiot.
Yeah. So like his friction with his wife is basically like, I know that I'm stupid, and like, because all of his money and his riches and his wealth, everything is garnered by the future.
Yeah.
Right. So he really doesn't have true status. And
he's what is it? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Well, no, he's actually is a fucking imposter. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
like you're not smart enough to become a billionaire on your own steam. You're just a vicious idiot, right? You're
idiot. Yeah, useful idiot.
Didn't he when he found that capsule with, you know, like the paper with his name on it, basically instructing him what to do and all those gold bars? Doesn't he kill the dude that he's with?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I remember that right.
So anyway, that's the only thing about him is he's cold blooded. That's it. He's vicious. He's a pit bull.
Right.
You know, yeah, and that's it. And so like he can pretend to be sophisticated and all sorts of shit because he has wealth, but at the end of the day, he's not really any of those things.
Right.
And it makes sense. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, as I was watching this movie, as we were watching this movie, my wife had said something about Cat being tall, like in that scene where they have dinner.
She's taller than every man in this movie.
Yes.
Yes.
It actually kind of reminds me of the one chick that I dated. Homeboy knows who she is.
Yep.
She was like, I'm 5'8" on a good day.
Yeah.
Right. She was like 6'1". You know, and so I was like, why does that feel familiar? As watching, I was like, oh, that's why.
Hey, listen, all you ladies out there that are taller than your mans, you the real MVP. All right. A toke to you.
Right here. Let me do a toke right quick. That's for you. But yeah, so we were given the task by Hay Jones to come up with a running theory, basically backing the idea that Max is Neil.
Right.
And like I had mentioned earlier, I really championed that idea, but not anymore, because the math doesn't add up. The whole thing with Cat being shot and he basically didn't give a shit. And like, Twilight was very like he was very British in the sense that he was foppish. Like I mean, that whole line about snobbery and that is quintessentially a British thing. Like the way in the manner that he speaks. Like don't be so dramatic. Oh well, this one is dramatic. Kind of thing. When they were talking about like how are we gonna activate Halon and basically like get the people that work at the Freeport to get out of the room that we need to get into, and so that notwithstanding, like even with all those elements to consider, it still doesn't outweigh the fact that like he doesn't give a shit about whether Cat dies or not. The math doesn't add up. And yeah, like I thought that in the line that he says in the beginning, or at the end of the movie, actually, when it says this is the end to a beautiful friendship. At first I thought, well, that only makes sense if Max is Neil, because like they've known each other for a while, but not one time in the movie do we see Max and the protagonist interacting. So that kind of like destroys my this one singular backing element that I had with Max.
The only interaction we see is him watching them walk away safely.
Exactly.
And
like,
then somebody else
no,
said this
interaction,
that he's dead, like for all terms and purposes, like he's under a secret identity, so he can't be, because there's this thing about this love affair between him and Kat, right? So she wants to fuck him, he wants to fuck her, he keeps saving her life, but they can't be together, right? Because she knows about Tenet, so they're gonna try to kill her. And what I don't understand is like, if you started it, why can't you just give her a fucking pass? What's up with the cloak and dagger shit, right?
Right.
So that part doesn't make sense to me either. But he's dead, so he can't go out and be visible and live a regular life because people might see him. So his whole existence is probably in hiding after that.
Right.
And so they probably never got together. He just watches her from afar.
Yeah.
In some capacity, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what leads to me to think like maybe because he's a future dead man, maybe he travels back a long time. But he says he finds Tenet is founded in the future, not the past. So he has to move forward to start the organization and then somehow reach to the past to initiate that organization in the past. So he's going to work the same methods that the future bad guys are using to start the organization. Send money and resources from the future to the past and have somebody else start. Matter of fact, fuck it. That's what fucking happened. Neil probably starts the organization for him. Like Neil is his satyr, and that's why he knows so much.
I think I like that idea more than
that's the only thing that actually makes sense and fits with the statement that he gives at the end.
Yeah, I think I like that idea more than the the remote coded messaging between them two, and the thing that you said earlier. I like to say this second idea more. That makes more sense. So, what do you think, homeboy?
Why are you calling on me, teacher? I told you I didn't do my homework.
I mean,
I ain't ready for this quiz.
Look, you may not
analyze what we're saying.
But you still have ideas.
Let me think. So I was sitting here listening to you guys and thinking to myself, one, right? Are we assuming that the turnstile technology does not advance in the future so that you can only go back in time so many fucking minutes or hours or whatever?
Well, no, I mean, once you're inverted, you're inverted.
No, that's what I'm saying, though. Is like, are we assuming that, that the technology of the turnstile does not advance? Right? Because you guys talk about Neo having to be in the turnstile for like months and months and months and years and shit. And I'm like, does the technology just not advance to the point where you don't have to stay in the turnstile for, that long of a time? I mean, where it's just more, it's a little more instantaneous.
We did talk about that briefly.
I missed a bit. It must have been when I went to go get coffee or take a leak.
No, I think we talked about it the last time we talked about Tenet, which was last week.
Yeah.
In that, I think I think I said, this negative entropy inversion thing is a completely different phenomenon from time travel.
Yeah, we talked about that, the whole Doppler effect, the redshift thing.
Yeah, and so in the movie it says like it takes 1 hour to go. It takes 1 hour to go back 1 hour.
Right.
And so if you assume, so I see what you're saying, that like if we assume that the turnstile technology, or at least if time travel isn't created or wasn't discovered, then and we're operating on the assumption that that technology, the turnstile technology, stays static, then yes, all this shit would kind of make sense in how we're talking about, but if we leave that presumption and like what did Hey Jones say last week, use other science outside of the movie, then anything is fucking possible. You know what I mean?
But I'm just trying to explain it in terms of the movie, right? Like, the turnstile that they're using is a primitive version, right? Why wouldn't we be able to imagine like 30 years?
Assume that it's a primitive version. It's the current issue that the future sent them.
Right.
It's the latest technology that they, like, I just sent you the plans for the iPhone 13.
You know what? That's a good point, actually.
Because the machines and the technology that we have in the year 2021 to produce the iPhone 13 didn't exist in the 1980s.
But if I give you the blueprints for them, you can make them.
To build the factories? To build the factories?
You don't need a factory if I'm only building one or two.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't. Well, you just need the prototypes.
Did they? Okay. So how were they able to?
You need factories for mass production. You don't need a factory for. I need one or two knockoffs.
Dude, listen. If we sent the plans to build a Tesla back to the medieval times, how do you think they're going to build one Tesla?
Very, very carefully.
No. People in medieval times will have access in some way, shape, or form to everything they need to build the fucking Tesla. You tell them how to build a fucking a machine that builds another part of a machine that builds the parts you need to make your shit.
Okay, so I have a question. Now, I might have missed this in the movie.
Like, for instance,
but hold on, I got a question.
Hold on. They send plans on how to make a turnstile to fucking Sater. Sater then gets people who he probably murdered afterwards to build him a couple of turnstiles. They didn't have to build some massive factory to mass produce them. They just built one-offs.
Okay, so
Like
that actually answers the question
the iPhones are built in California as prototypes, and then they're mass produced in China.
That actually answers the question I was going to ask. Was were plans sent to Sater, or like did it actually send a fucking turnstile?
That's what the paperwork was.
All right, so with that, I think it's safe to assume that that is the most current technology that they had. Because otherwise, why would they send a more primitive one? You know what I mean?
It's either one or two things. They gave him plans and money so he could build the turnstiles, or two, they sent the turnstiles back in time, piece by piece, and had him put them back together.
Yeah, there is that.
So it's one or the other. Like, here's a main mechanism that you need to make, and we're gonna send those pieces slowly back in time to you. Because the capsule that he goes in, like the hypo center is where they constantly drop his fucking messaging, right? So that's why there's already a turnstile there. So the first turnstile gets made at the drop point. So anytime that they need to send stuff from the future into the past, they were right there to do it. So he needs to send a message to them or something. He not inverts it, but he just drops it in the tunnel, and then they instantaneously get it in the future. In reverse, they want to send him something. They invert it and drop it in the hole. He gets it, inverts it again, so it's going right side up, and then he gets his money or his gold.
So it's instantaneous both ways, right?
Yeah,
at least from my understanding.
It's only because they're in a nuclear spot that doesn't get touched because of his nuclear radiation.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody goes there, so anything that you put there instantaneously would get picked up by the side.
He says something to the effect of, "My company is the only one that that works in these sites," or some shit.
Yeah. So it's a space that he controls in its entirety.
Yeah. Well,
and that was a deal with the dude who got killed with the inverted gold bars. The nigga ran off with the package instead of inverting it and dropping it off.
Oh yeah, when he beats the fuck out of him.
Yeah. So
and he checks his heart rate.
Yeah. So this is somebody who tried to rip him off, so they didn't even get to invert the fucking gold like they were supposed, or right sided up, or
And he tosses that same gold bar as payment to the protagonist. And he drops it and he goes, handle the plutonium better than you handle that gold.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that was weird with that scene, right, is that the gold bar was inverted, so he picked it up by thinking of it, and it flew to his hand. But when he tossed it to the protagonist almost drops it where he should have just kind of caught it. Like, that part didn't make sense.
I read some shit about causality and how Christopher Nolan uses causality to like get over or solve the problem of like the inverted, non-inverted events. Like he can temporarily break causality, or he does anyway, in order to kind of progress the movie forward. I'll post a link once I find it again in the war room, so you guys can read it. But there's something there about it makes the movie make a bit more sense. So I mean, not that I misunderstand it now. I mean, I think I have a pretty good grasp of what's happening in the movie. But I think that'll also shed light to how the movie operates, or how how it went forward as a movie. So yeah, I'll once I find it, I'll send it to you guys. So, But any other thoughts there, homeboy? Like I said, you may not have done the homework, but you still have thoughts.
I think I may have to do my homework this time. I'm gonna have to turn it in late, teach.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna have to ask for an extension.
But yeah, I think we're in a what's the word I'm looking for? We all like the movie.
So let me understand the question so that when I do my homework, I know what the fuck I'm looking for. All right. What the question is, is Neil Max, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what would quantifying this answer, solve in the larger picture?
It would just prove a point because it's kind of if is Neil Max is the spinning top of this movie.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Is
So
Max spinning top?
figuring
Right.
out their relationship and how it could have transpired is the question.
Okay.
So either Neil is Max, he interacts with him in the future and sends him back,
Which is
or
what he
he is
does. Oh, they're talking about if he enter because Neil does get sent. Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right.
yeah, or if somehow the protagonist travels back
Right.
instead, and Neil is on his regular timeline.
Okay.
Now I will say, this is the first time I'd ever seen John David Washington, and like I mentioned before, when I was watching this movie the first time, I couldn't help but think he walks like Denzel, like he really does, like he saunters, like Denzel does this, this walk, right? And
Yeah.
uh, John David Washington does the same thing. He sounds like fucking Denzel. He's even got Denzel's overbite,
Yeah.
just not as pronounced. And so it's like the whole time I'm thinking, this is Denzel Washington, just maybe a younger version. Come to find out, it's fucking Denzel's son, right?
Yeah.
So you went in not knowing that was Denzel Jr.
Yes, I went in not knowing that who the fuck he was, because I think he had mentioned he was in Ballers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'd seen part of the first episode of Ballers.
Yeah.
And another thing is, after watching this movie twice, I've decided that I like Twilight as an actor. He's not bad.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
This was my breakthrough moment for Twilight also. So
yeah,
it was kind of like I didn't like Brad Pitt until I saw him in what do you call that fucking movie? Meet
Fight
Joe
Club.
Black.
No, I liked him. I saw him in Fight Club, and that changed it for me.
No, Fight Club put the nail in the coffin because before then I was just, oh, it's just some pretty motherfucker who gets work because he's pretty. And then I saw Meet Joe Black, and I'm like, oh shit, this dude really can act, kind of deal. Even though
he
that
got
like,
chops. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I saw Meet Joe Black after Fight Club, so
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
Well, I can't.
Well, which one of them came out first?
Meet Joe Black.
Meet Joe Black.
Okay. Yeah, because I just happened to be over somebody's house randomly, and they had it on.
Yeah.
And I ended up watching it. I was like, oh, okay.
I think I'm
okay. God damn it! Now I watch the movie.
And then when Fight Club came out, I was like, okay, this is my guy.
You know what I liked about Meet Joe Black that really put the nail in the coffin after Fight Club was the opening scene when Brad Pitt's character gets fucking hit by 2 cars.
Yes.
That shit. I'm like, man, that's a bold move, Brad. I love it. I fucking love it.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for the Batman to come out. I want to see how the hell Twilight does as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And this kind of just like Hey Jones said, this kind of
instead of Batfleck, it's gonna be Bobman or
right.
something.
right. Like this kind of cemented the idea that, hey, Cedric Diggory is a good fucking actor.
Right.
Like Twilight is a good fucking actor. Like he was good. He was good in this. Like the little his British quirkiness. That foppish, boyish, British manner. Like it really, I'm not sure if that's what it was, because I've been called flamboyant before, and like I'll look at the way like someone's dressed and I'm like, that's a hell of a suit, or I like the way he I like the way he presents himself, kind of thing, and the words that they use, like the expressions that they use, the idioms that they use, I'm not sure if, because of my biases in liking those things, that I'm not sure if that influenced the idea that, holy shit, Twilight's a good character, or Twilight's a good actor. But I really think he did a good job in this movie, and he really is a good fucking actor.
Yeah.
It just it sucks that my first my first impression of him is fucking Twilight. And I think I read somewhere that I actually, no, I think it was my wife who said that he hated that series. He doesn't like talking about that series. So, but yeah,
my point is, fuck him and Marky Mark on that shit. You did it. We get to talk about it.
What is it?
Right.
The one movie that they talk about, he did like a really badass fucking job, was The Devil All the Time. A lot of people are recommending, watching that for Robert Pattinson.
Is that the one with the Spider-Man dude?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm gonna. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, they say
on Netflix.
Yeah, The Devil All the Time, they say, is one where you're like, funny. Holy shit.
Yeah.
What do you call that? We live in a Twilight world. Was that like a pun or a jab at that nigga? Or like, maybe. I want to know if that was in the original script, or was that added because he cast Robert Pattinson?
Yeah. What's the response to that? At dusk we have no friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. And then what is it? And then the younger millennials.
No friends at dusk.
Yeah.
Right. And then the younger millennials who are all about the Twilight, they say that Cosmopolis was his breakthrough role.
Cosmopolis? I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I think that was an indie film or something like that.
Let me consult James really quick on Cosmopolis. Talk amongst yourselves. Apparently, I can't multitask.
Well, I'm looking at IMDb, and I'm just using my rote memory.
Right.
Jamie's using IMDb, and I'm using my rote memory.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So Cosmopolis and The Devil All the Time, they say, are like breakthrough roles for Twilight. And so, I mean,
did you know that he's actually?
Huh?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm interested in seeing him, because I mean, I was gonna watch it anyway, but I'm interested in seeing how he interprets, Bruce Wayne / the Batman.
Yeah. Now, did you know that he's actually a fantastic singer? He's got a good voice.
I did not know that. No.
And there's this. So just to preface, my wife loves the Twilight movies.
Right.
And she, I was watching it with her. The first time I'd ever watched Twilight, and there's this scene where he's playing the piano, and he wrote this song.
Yeah.
The Edward character, the Twilight character, whatever, like plays this song on the piano, and she said that he actually wrote that for the movie.
Nice.
And apparently he's got a great singing voice. She showed me a song that he was singing, and I'm like, there's no fucking way that that's Twilight, but apparently it was.
Oh wow!
So he's a what do you call it? I'm not sure if he can dance or not, but what is that called? Like a triple threat?
A triple threat.
You can dance, you can act, you can sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a triple threat.
Kind of like JT.
Who?
Justin Timberlake.
Oh.
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
So. But yeah. Good.
Finally
good
got
movie.
one. Finally got one this episode.
we haven't really made dick jokes in the last couple ones.
I don't know. I mean, the last one with the last episode we did with when we mentioned Mr. Beast. I mean, I made a lot of jokes about orgies and coming. I mean, those count as dick jokes, right?
Oh, you actually made one in this one as well. When Hey Jones said, "I found a plot hole," and you said, "You want my dick in it."
That's it. Show's over.
Okay. that reminds me of the Navy. So you know how whenever there's a damage control training situation,
Yeah.
And they teach you like how do you know if there's a fire in the space, or what's a good way of knowing if there's a fire in the space.
Right.
And they're if there's air like sucking in, essentially going in.
Yeah.
Right. I heard this one dude, we were in the mess section. It was like we were waiting for the debrief.
Right.
And he said, you open up like the porthole or whatever, like just like little um uh screw caps that you can take
Yeah.
off, and
Yeah.
like they're supposed to go through the bulkheads.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um you know you if what are you gonna do if there's air rushing in there, if it's sucking in? And he goes, I'm gonna put my dick in. And I'm like, what the fuck?
You're not gonna get it back, son.
Right. Right. Hey, you're gonna get that shit back. You're gonna get that
Right.
shit extra crispy. Serve
Right.
that motherfucker on a platter. Give it to the
Hell
captain.
yeah. We're gonna break it off because it's gonna be
Yeah.
charcoal, son.
Would would that qualify him for a Purple Heart?
No. No. No.
No.
Not unless it was in a combat situation.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's got to be in a combat situation, like
Well, I don't know though. I don't know.
Japanese
I
Zeros
don't know,
flying
though.
in.
I don't know, because I know someone who was in the Navy that he what was it? He fucking messed up his knee. Not in combat, but he was walking across the fucking street, and he twisted his knee or some shit, and he required surgery.
What?
And he got a Purple Heart for it.
What?
Yeah.
Man, shit. I scraped my knee on the fucking ship when I was actually in the War on Terror. Where's my Purple Heart?
Right? Look, I sliced my fucking fingertips off. Do you remember that shit?
Yeah.
I sliced my fingertips off Franken.
Yeah.
Where's my
shit.
Purple Heart?
Where's our Purple Hearts, man? Man.
Did
All
you
right.
lose an appendage, or did you just have a deep cut?
It don't matter. Like, if you got grazed by a bullet, you get a Purple Heart.
Oh.
Yeah,
Damn.
I sliced 3 fingertips off. I couldn't play guitar for months. I was pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, you sliced it off, or you just cut into them?
I have massive scars on my fingers. Like chunks of it came off.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah. I remember the day after. My middle finger is the one that got it the worst. The two, my index finger, my ring finger, they clotted and stopped bleeding. But my middle finger was bleeding still the next day. And so
Damn.
I went to medical to get my dressings changed, and
Yeah.
that motherfucker hurt. And so Doc looked at it and said, we're gonna have to cauterize it because it's still bleeding. Like, it was, he took we had to soak the gauze in iodine
Yeah.
for a good 5 minutes just to get it out. And
Yeah.
when it was finally out, like, that motherfucker was spurting out.
Yeah.
So he had to stop bleeding again.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't think it's gonna clot properly.
Yeah.
It's gonna keep on bleeding. I don't want you to bleed out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to cauterize it. And so
Yeah.
at first he thought about like a field cauterization. Just heat up a knife and
Yeah.
press that motherfucker in there.
Yeah.
And then he thought more about it and said, if I fuck it up, I'm gonna have to do it again, and it's double pain on you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use silver nitrate sticks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, how bad could it be, right?
Right.
And so now, I don't know if you remember, but Doc at the time was the doc that we had at the time. He was a big dude.
Gil Freight?
He was like I don't know, yeah, Doc Freight.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what height he was, but he was a big guy.
He
was at least 200 pounds, 250 pounds.
I know he's from some kind of islands. He's not Samoan.
He's Filipino.
Right. Okay.
He's half Filipino.
Yeah.
But he was a big guy.
Hell yeah, fucking what is it? Former Marine Corps corpsman. Hell yeah.
Yeah, he was
Marine
FMF.
Force. Yeah, Fleet Marine Force. Hell yeah.
So so he prepped everything, and then he laid on my arm. Now, I don't know if you remember medical.
It's not a whole lot of space.
Yes, and there was that table in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And so I had my arm on there, and he laid on my arm. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
You know, and then before he did anything else, I said, hey, can you at least give me a digital anesthetic?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't feel it. And he's like, it's not going to work. I said, just humor me, you know, make me feel better. Just, you know, give me a couple shots of anesthetic.
Yeah.
So he did it. And he said, I'm telling you, it's not going to work, but whatever. So he gives me, he gives me three shots,
Yeah.
you know, at the base, right? And he lays down on my arm.
See where this is going.
Dude, he lays on my arm, and but before he does it, he gets the sticks wet, you know, the little faucet, those right there. He gets it wet. He lays on my arm, and then he, you know, he sticks the thing in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm not feeling anything.
Yeah.
You know, so it worked. So I was like, I told you it was gonna work. And as soon as I said that last word, I felt the burning. Worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like, this dude is like 350, right? I'm lifting him off the fucking table because of the adrenaline. You know, he had to like pin me down, and I'm over here yelling, right? And the master at arms just happened to be passing by medical, and he's hearing me yell at the top of my fucking lungs, right? And he opens the door and peeks in there, and he sees me, you know, with my fingertips burned off from, you know, cauterization, and he's like, carry on. So yeah, that's how I have scars now on my fingertips. I actually have a slight loss of feeling there because of the scar tissue. But yeah, where's my Purple Heart? Huh?
Right?
Huh?
Yeah. You have that documented, because that's at least like 20%.
Oh, it's documented. I just don't have my fucking paperwork with me.
Dude,
Otherwise,
that's at least like 20% or some shit like that.
Look, I get 10% more. I qualify for voc rehab. If I do, I'm going to school, son.
Hell yeah, dude.
But I mean, I tried to. I went to a sleep study because my wife says I stop breathing when I sleep. So, I thought I had apnea, and I went to a sleep study so I could get that documented and see if I could get it service connected. But it was inconclusive. I don't think I went to sleep deep enough for them to like make a decision on whether I have apnea or not. Because it's a new environment. I can't take sleeping pills.
Give you a device to wear home.
I have to. Well, see, that's the thing. One of my friends said the reason why, or how he found out he has apnea is because he had he thought he might, and they just gave him a device, and it not only did it help with his breathing when he was sleeping, but it also detected his apnea.
Yeah.
But he was in the Army. I'm not sure how things work in the Army.
Yeah.
I'm a civilian now, and so I'm not sure, I qualify for help like that. So, but I think sleep apnea is like 50%.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I went to the sleep study, and they hooked up a bunch of fucking electrodes in my face. That wasn't comfortable, and that might have contributed to why I wasn't able to sleep deeply enough.
Yeah.
And it was also a new environment. It was unfamiliar. The bed was kind of uncomfortable. So it was a weird situation. So otherwise I'd be halfway through my fucking cybersecurity, ethical hacker certification.
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah.
So,
All right. Well,
I have a question. One last thing. How did you guys feel about the Snyderverse?
That's a topic for another time.
well, I mean, just give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. We can go in details later. But your general vibe.
My general vibe is negative.
I'm not.
Homeboy.
Here's my general vibe.
Okay. Well, lucky you. You might get more.
All right. Oh man.
So
Jesus.
So the news on the streets is that I guess Discovery is buying Warner Brothers, the Discovery Channel.
Damn, they have that much money?
It seems. I was shocked. I thought it would be the other way around.
Right.
And there's a new head coming in, which will get rid of the Hamada guy, who has basically been running things since. On the Warner Brothers side. So the rumor has it is that they want to push a Justice League 2 out.
Yeah.
Because of the response of the Snyder cut.
Right.
Even though they hate the movie, they got fans, right? And they want to do something to justify their jobs. So
I
that
guess
they don't lose it in the merger.
Right.
Simultaneously, it's like the new merging in company may do it because it's that heat on it, but they're not going to let them do it. They're going to remove them and then do it themselves. So the insiders are saying like you may get the Snyderverse back.
Oh God,
now,
I hope not.
My question is, are they going to do reboots, or what are they going to do?
I'm saying like a continuation of the Snyderverse.
Shit. Okay.
Matter of fact, the guy who just filmed the Flash movie said that he liked the Snyder cut so much that he rewrote some parts of the Flash movie. The Flash movie is more in continuity with the Snyder cut than it is the Joss Whedon cut.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to. I guess we'll have to see.
I just wanted to drop that little news bit on you.
All right.
I found that interesting, and that there's corporate finagling at play in its regard.
Of course there is.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course. Well, I guess.
It's a topic for another
Have we
day.
had our fill of Tenet? Have we had
Oh
our
yeah,
fill of Tenet?
We stopped talking about Tenet a long time ago. I told you guys I'm gonna go do my homework. I'm gonna have to ask for an extension teacher.
All
right.
Extension granted. Do your thing.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna revisit Tenet again, at a future date.
As always.
We're gonna hop in the turnstile at that point.
Turnstile Thursdays.
There you go. Right on.
All right. Well, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Push us like crack. Until next time, homies. Peace.
Hey.